Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, ladies. Rosemary, Cassie. Hello, Lorraine. How are you? Good to see you here. Hello, Lois and Sherry. Hi, Marcia. How are you? Good to have you here. Hello, Sheila. How is everyone tonight? How was your week? For those joining us for the first time, if you're watching on the replay, welcome. This is Quilt Conversations Live. Every Friday, we meet and we talk about quilting, machine quilting, and ruler quilting. And we have some fun in between. So, what have you ladies been up to this week? What have you been up to? There goes Wilda. Hello, Wilda. How are you? I'm glad you're here. Hello, Maddie. Hello. I hope you don't mind I shorten your name. Hello. Guess what? I had a chance to sew this week. I did. I've been working on a carrying tote for a pattern for a magazine, and it's coming out this fall. So I got a chance to work on that. Yep, not so much computer work, but I did do a little bit of computer work. Who else had a chance to sew this week? Anyone else? Also, I was in a conference. I was in a conference, virtual conference called Leap into Live. And it basically was a conference, 4 days of live and recorded lectures and live chat about streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, anywhere basically. So it's helping me to refine my live presentation. I learned a lot of different things, and some of those I have already started to implement. You'll notice some changes tonight in my presentation. I'm trying to improve it little by little. All right. Oh, Wilda, you did 2 baby quilts and finished binding on another quilt. Fabulous. Ooh, organized and cleaned inside the house. Wow. Let me fix that, make that a little bit better. And Sherry, you're working on finishing a top with just need some borders. That's great. Who did I miss? Anyone? African Queen. You're working on your African Queen quilt. Is that right, Cassie? And then you worked on your lessons, Lois. Wonderful. On your alphabet design lessons. I'm assuming that's from the eBook class that you're taking with me. Oh, there goes Denise. Hello, Denise. How are you? All right, you finished some curtains. Wonderful. And some shears. So everyone did a little bit of sewing. Some sewing is not always fun. It has to be practical, right? Which is good. Ooh, setting up a bigger sewing room like that. More space for play, more playing. All right, Lois, wonderful. I'm glad that you're making progress in the Alphabet eBook Design mini course. Practice, practice. Yes, Copper, me too. I'm so glad so many of us were able to sew. I don't know if you've noticed my t-shirt. Have you noticed my t-shirt? All dressed and nowhere to go. What do you think? It's a new design that I did. All dressed and nowhere to go. As I was thinking about this pandemic and being in lockdown, a lot of us have had to stay home, but we've been all dressed and nowhere to go. You like that? Yeah. Awesome. So I'm glad you ladies like it. But see, I didn't stop there. I also made a little sticker a sticker of the dress. What do you think? So this is the dress only. And then I did the dress with writing on it, all dressed and nowhere to go. This is also a sticker. Is that cute? Yeah, the stickers are fun. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. Ah, yes. I did design the dress in my quilt software program. I use Electric Quilt 8 to design quilts. And so when I'm designing other things, I use Electric Quilt. And then I can save the file and do something like this. Yes. Ah, greeting cards. That'd be perfect. Yes, Marcia, there is. There is a t-shirt rather, for Living Water Quilter. Did you notice down here below, I have joined livingwaterquilter.live, but also in the YouTube description box below the video, I have a link. I can put that link in the chat where you can look at some of the t-shirts that I have. T-shirts, mugs. Ladies, did you see this in the background? I also have a mug with the same thing. All dressed and nowhere to go. Yeah. So all this is on the website, and I have water bottles with the logo, Living Water Quilter logo. But let me get that link for you. Let's see. Here we go. And so they're sweatshirts, they're t-shirts. There's all kinds of things you can find there. Okay, here we go. Going to the comments on YouTube. And then I'll go on Facebook too. All right, so I dropped in the comments and in the chat on YouTube the link to how to get the t-shirts or the mugs or the water bottles or the stickers. They're so fun, right? Fun, fun, fun. Yes, I love EQ8. Oh yes, Wilda, you have a Living Water Quilter hooded sweatshirt. That's going to be real cozy come this fall, right? Yep, hoodies too. So for those of you who missed last week, I announced that, well, before I do that, I have released some patterns recently, some digital patterns. And one is this one behind me, Color Wave. But now I've created a 3 pattern bundle at a discount. So you can get the 3 pattern bundle. Whoops, let me switch that to this one instead. This is on the website, and you get 3 patterns with a $5 discount. You get Color Wave, Radiant, Star, and Taffy Candy. And it's discounted, the bundle, for $40. Normally they're $15 each, and so you can find that. But guess what? If you are in the Stitching Lane Society membership, you get an even deeper discount. You get 50% off the regular price. So those of you ladies who are in Stitching Lane Society, this bonus for being a member is now available. You get 3 patterns for $22.50. So go to your member, sign into your membership, click on the Stitching Lane Society dashboard, and the link to get the bundle at this 50% discount is now ready. It is ready. It is a great bonus. Thank you, Sherry. I'm so glad. But here's the other part about this bonus. And even getting the bundle, if you're not a member, each one of these quilts, there's a video on how you can quilt it. There's the quilting plan video. There's the building confidence video for the star, for the radiant star. And then there's 2 separate videos to give you inspiration on how to quilt Taffy Candy. 1 and 2. So 2 videos for Taffy Candy, and then there's the radiant star and quilting plan for Color Wave. How often do you buy a pattern that you get not only quilting inspiration in the pattern, but you also get a video? Wonderful. I'm so glad you like the idea. Thank you, Sheila. For those of you who haven't seen my patterns before, let me show you kind of what it looks like on the inside. This is the Color Wave pattern. They're all diagrammed, 4-color, step-by-step instructions, layout diagrams, and you get a coloring page. So you can figure out how you want to make your Color Wave quilt or the other 2. Coloring pages, I think, are important. And I recommend, if you get the pattern, that you copy the coloring page so that you can use it over and over again. And someone who's a pattern tester for me said that she scans in the coloring page. And if you don't have a scanner connected to your computer, you can always use your phone and take a picture. Then put it in your computer, and you can use coloring in either Word or in, if you have a Windows-based computer, or you can use coloring inside your Mac to color if you don't want to use crayons. But sometimes crayons or colored pencils are fun to use. It's up to you, but you have that option. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. Now I'm going to offer discounted quilting pattern bundles, and this is the first one. So there's a link in the YouTube description box below if you're interested in that. If you want me to drop a link directly to that page, for those of you who are not members, I can do that. Just let me know. You were organizing, okay, so Copper says that she was organizing her old finished quilts today and would have quilted them differently and better after watching live sessions. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for saying that. That's exciting to know that you're ready to start implementing some of those patterns and techniques and into your own quilts. That's fantastic. I love to hear that. So if you looked at the title of tonight's quilt conversation, it's about question and answer. Question and answer. And before we do that, let's have a warm-up. We're going to do a bingo warm-up. We're going to talk about machine quilting and ruler quilting. So those of you who are watching on the replay, we are tonight having a Q&A on our challenges, our problems, things we'd like to know a little bit more about, and it could be anything. So it's going to be based on the questions that you ladies ask, but maybe you don't know what to ask, so we're going to do bingo. If this is your first time here, all you need is a sheet of paper, and you're going to do 3 lines across and then 3 lines vertical. That's going to give you a 4x4 grid. 4x4 grid. And we're going to play machine quilting bingo, but I labeled it machine quilting challenges because I think the 16 items that I put in are common questions or challenges that quilters have with machine quilting, ruler quilting, or free motion. And so hopefully this will give you some inspiration and you can start writing down some questions that we can talk about, that we can get some answers for. Okay? Let me know when you're ready. Say ready in the chat. Make a comment. Let me know when you're ready. Oh, there goes Catherine. Hey, Catherine. So glad you're here. All right. Let me see if I can get this to behave. That's where you need to be. Right there. All right. Ready, ready, ready. All right. Wilda is ready. Who else is ready? All right. Now, okay, Sherry is ready. And just as a reminder, over the last few weeks, we've been talking about a lot of different things. And we talked about mistakes to avoid. We've talked about 10 steps for stress-free machine quilting and basically having a plan from the very beginning when we start making a quilt, from fabric prep to basting to how we press. All these different topics that we've talked about that you may have questions about. So think about some of those conversations as well. And we're going to talk about that. Okay, everyone is ready. Here we go. So here it is. If you have a question about the topic, once it's revealed, you're going to put an X. Then at the end of bingo, you're going to have a list of machine quilting or ruler quilting related topics that you want to learn more about, or you have questions, so that we can use those as our starter questions for our conversation tonight. Okay? Here we go. Ready? So, machine quilting challenges. What challenges do you have with machine quilting? And anything. What about your rulers? Does your ruler, when you're ruler quilting, does it slide and then you end up not making the design correctly? What about when you start and stop in free motion quilting? Or ruler quilting? Do you have a challenge with that? What about machine quilting, period? Just all of it. You haven't started machine quilting and you have some questions. Have you purchased your first ruler foot? Or do you have challenges installing your ruler foot? What about basting your quilt, preparing it for machine quilting? You're going to put an X if you have a question about any of these topics. What about batting? Are you using the right batting? What about fabric prep? How do you prepare your fabric? Does that impact your machine quilting? Moving fabric. Sometimes we can have a challenge on how we move the fabric when we're machine quilting, or if we're using quilting a large quilt. Free motion quilting foot. Do you still need to get a free motion quilting foot, or do you not like the one you have? Do you want alternatives? What about free motion quilting patterns? What patterns are challenging to you? Are you better at straight lines or things with curves? Large quilts on a small machine. How fast or slow do you machine quilt? Have you been able to get a nice speed? Skip stitches. Do you experience skipped stitches? And I know a lot of ladies are concerned about stitch length. They want to have a stitch regulator. Do you use a stitch regulator? Do you not have one because your machine doesn't have that feature? What about, let's see, what's that last one? Thread. What are your thread questions? What are your questions about thread? Thread weight, when to use a bottom line thread, which is a 60 weight thread, when to use 40 weight, a heavier weight thread. What are your questions about thread? All right, that's a lot of topics, right? So no one has said bingo yet. Does that mean you have no questions or concerns or challenges with any of these topics? When it comes to machine quilting, ruler quilting, or free motion quilting? Any questions? No one has bingo. All right. I find that to be very curious. Okay, I'm going to... All right, I'm assuming that we are still live. I don't see any movement in the chat. Okay, there we go. All right. You have questions on all of with all of them. Okay. Has anyone used spray on the back of a ruler to keep it from sliding during ruler work? Any success? All right, here we go. Let's go to this one here. Okay, so questions. You know what? Let's do this one here instead so that we can see the questions as they come up. Okay. So Wilda says, yes, all of the above. All of the above. And, all right, I'm going to make this really, really big on my screen so I can read those questions. And Sherry said that she had issues with, questions with all of them. Sheila has, anyone use spray on the back of the ruler? Okay. All right, so first question, let's talk about, okay, get that locked in. Locked. All right, finally. So the question was spraying on the back of a ruler. I have not tried that, Sheila. And I just recommend you try it, see if it works, and do like you're doing here. Ask someone who is doing ruler quilting if they've tried it, and do some research on YouTube. Skip stitches. Denise, are you saying that you've had skip stitches? Skip stitches can be for a number of reasons, depending upon one, the foot is too high. It needs to be lowered closer to the fabric. Skip stitches could also mean that there could be a problem with your needle. It could be not catching the bobbin thread, so it's off. No bingo, but questions. Okay. Basting a quilt. How do you baste a quilt? I have basted a quilt. Give me specific questions to ask because then I can generalize. Any help with quilting a sewing machine? Okay, question. Which direction are you supposed to go when ruler quilting? Sometimes the ruler is too thick to line up consistently when changing direction. Okay, Rochelle, when you say the ruler is too thick, are you saying that the you know what, ladies? I don't like this format because I'm missing your questions. I'm going to change it back. Sorry to go back and forth, but I want to do that because then I can leave the comment up longer. All right, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to try this again. All right, so I'm going to make sure I didn't miss a question. We talked about the spraying in the back of the rulers. Okay. Copper said, I do have a question. About having the ruler foot sitting against the ruler when doing a curve. Okay, so Copper, are you saying that when you place the ruler next to the foot and it's a curved ruler, you have a challenge with the ruler maintaining contact against the foot? Is that your question? You're having trouble with keeping the ruler next to the foot. Okay, let me change this a little bit. Yes, contact. Okay. My suggestion whenever we're ruler quilting, whether it's a curve or a straight edge, to maintain contact, it's always light pressure down on the quilt sandwich and light pressure toward the foot. Light pressure toward the foot to make sure you maintain that contact. Curves can be challenging when it's an outside curve. You have to practice. Take a quilt sandwich and practice maintaining contact on that curve. It's easy to come off the curve, but if it's light pressure down on the fabric and light pressure toward the foot, you can maintain better contact with the foot. Okay. And then Rochelle had asked, which direction are you supposed to go in when ruler quilting? You can go in any direction. That's the benefit of ruler quilting. But you're saying sometimes the ruler is too thick. It sounds like your ruler might be too thick for your machine. Do you have the right ruler thickness? When you go in one direction versus another, is the bar hitting the ruler? If it is, the ruler is too thick. You need a thinner ruler. Okay, so Rochelle also says it's hard to line up the ruler when I'm using lines in the ruler. If I change direction, maybe it's my eyes. Oh, it's hard to line up the ruler. You know what, Rochelle? Sometimes I have to stand up to look and see that I have it lined up. There are some times when we want to stitch in a direction where we have increased visibility. And that means sometimes we have to go in the same direction over and over because when I go in another direction, I can't see to line it up. Okay, on outside curves, I have to tell myself, keep touching. Yes, that's a good thing to note, Lois. I like that idea. Keep touching. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so Denise says, I have changed the needle and thread, and while we were talking about skip stitches, Denise had a question about that. And she says, I have tried to change the needle and thread, and the skip stitches frequently are infrequent enough to know. Okay, so whenever I have a problem that continues to persist, I go straight down the line. I make sure my machine is threaded correctly. I make sure I have a needle with no burrs. And that means sometimes if the needle strikes your stitch plate or inside the machine, you can get a little burr on the needle. And it could be small and minute. You can take a pair of stockings and run the needle across the stockings. If it snags the stockings, there's a burr on the needle. and you want to try a new needle. Then you want to take those same stockings and run it across your stitch plate. Will you get skipped stitches if the thread is getting caught on the stitch plate? If the stockings, when you run it across the stitch plate, snag, you have a dent or a burr on the stitch plate. That has to be smoothed out. Okay. Let's see. So bobbin thread showing on the top. That's tension. That's tension. That means your top thread tension is high and it's pulling the bobbin thread to the top. You want to lower your tension. Okay, what else? Good. That's a good thing, Catherine. Also check and clean the bobbin area. Perfect. Yes. Do you ladies have a machine maintenance routine? A machine maintenance routine? Cleaning out your bobbin, oiling your machine on a regular basis, cleaning out the areas that your manual says that you need to clean and oil. That's true, Lois. If you lose concentration, you will veer off on curves. Definitely. Don't forget to put a question mark in front of your questions so I can distinguish them as questions. What's the best size needle for 50 weight thread top thread and bobbin for quilting? Your needle size is going to be based on your top thread. When we use 50 weight thread, we're going to use an 80-12 needle. 80-12 needle. If the thread is thicker, 40 weight thread, you're going to go with 90-14 needle. You can always go with a larger needle size, but you will end up getting a larger hole. And then your thread, this is the hole, and your thread is going to swim in that larger hole. So if you have 50 weight thread and you're using a larger needle like 90-14, that hole size is going to be bigger and the thread is going to swim. You want the hole to encapsulate that thread. You don't want there to be a gap. No gap. No gap. Okay. What else? You like the idea of the stocking? Yes, because those needle burrs, every time, and sometimes we don't even know that the needle has striked our machine. And it could be just a slight little metal to metal contact that has created this burr inside the metal, and that can cause problems. Yay, Copper cleans her bobbin area, especially after large projects. That's wonderful. Sherry says she really wants to do circles, but not sure which rulers are best for a long arm. I've seen a couple of really nice ones. I'd have to look that up for you. And again, but I'm not a long arm quilter, and it might be best if you look up a long arm quilter who has experience and can tell you what it's like. But when I've watched some, I've seen some that look to be fairly easy to use. My preference with quilting, because of quilting on a curve, you can veer off easily. I tend to prefer something where I quilt on the inside the circle as opposed to on the outside of the circle. But that's something you might have to experiment with. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Copper. You're welcome. Right. Any other questions that I missed? Anyone else have questions about tension? Any other questions about tension? That's usually the first thing that most ladies are afraid of when it comes to free motion quilting. Any other questions? Denise, you mentioned habits. That's one of the things that will relieve stress in machine quilting. I'm sure you ladies do this in piecing. You have this routine of your needles, your thread. You have a routine for how you piece, what foot you use. We want the same kind of routine when it comes to machine quilting. Okay, so Catherine has a question. Sometimes it's hard to quilt big quilts as resistance, and I try to put it on the table and stretch it out. That's a good question. Big quilts for sit-down quilters can be very challenging, and I have two methods that I use because I have two different machines in two different locations. So my Janome sit-down sewing machine, it's a regular home machine, is on a table that's right against the wall. So I can push all that fabric to the back and it's not going to drag behind the table because it's against the wall. If you don't have a wall, you want to put together what I've done in my second situation. Matter of fact, it's this machine right here. This one that you see here, this is my Juki sit down. My Juki sit down is also against the wall, but that wasn't enough because that's where I do a lot of my big quilts. I have created a bungee system. Many, many years ago, when I got my first home, I was trying to put up paintings and artwork on the wall and hang up shelves. And I tried to put in anchors. You know those plastic anchors that you have to drill and then push it in and it's supposed to open in the back? So anyway, I put more holes in the wall than I put photos and artwork because I did a very poor job of using anchors. So I had to find an anchor that I could use that would work. And so I found these anchors that are self-drilling anchors. And they would grip the drywall and they could go in drywall or a stud. So it didn't matter if there was a stud behind it or not, that anchor would work. And those anchors each hold 50 pounds. So whether I was putting up a painting or hanging curtains, I used these self-drilling anchors. So my machine, I tell you all this because my sit-down machine that you see over here is against the wall but by a window, and I have curtains. Those curtains are hung on both ends with two 50-pound anchors. So essentially, those anchors are strong enough to hold 100 pounds, 100 pounds. So I put my bungee cord on my curtain rod with a clamp at the end. So when I have a big quilt, I clamp the end of the quilt to take the weight off of moving it while I'm quilting. So if you can put together a bungee system that can hold the weight of your quilt, then you can free motion quilt or ruler quilt without resistance. Okay. There are a lot of different systems out there. You may be in some Facebook groups that have shown pictures where ladies put up these different machines and contraptions that allow you to put bungee cords to hold up the weight of the quilt. That's the main thing. The other thing that I do for quilting large quilts on small machines, home machines, even a sit-down long arm, is that I quilt based on a quadrant. Meaning, on a sit-down machine, I have so much space between the back of the machine and the needle. I don't want to push all my fabric behind that machine. I want most of the fabric to be outside of the machine. So I quilt a quadrant at a time. So if I'm sitting in front of the machine, I have the lower right corner of the quilt under the machine. All the rest is behind the machine and to the left of the machine. Then I can rotate it and do the next quadrant. I hope that helps. A couple of ideas on how to quilt a large quilt. All right, I'm going to filter through the comments to see if I can find another question. All right. All right, I have a problem with, okay, Rosemary says, I have a problem with flipping a template and the etch lines are on top and they throw a shadow causing error. That is true. That does happen. The only thing I can guess to remedy that is to find a way to see which way the error is going. So you'd have to test. Is the mistake, and what type of template are you talking about? Are you talking about a straight edge, or are you talking about a closed template, a template that creates a wreath, for example, or a template, because each one is going to have its own solution, but I would test which way the error is happening. Is it incrementally making it larger or bigger when you flip the template? And then adjust from there. Because once you spend the time to solve that problem, then you're going to be able to repeat that and have more success with other templates. But it's going to take you a little while in the beginning to figure out which way to go. Okay, Cassie, what is the largest quilt you've ever quilted on my machine? I have quilted a queen size quilt on my smaller Janome home machine. It has 11 inches, which is a good space from the needle to the back of the machine. And I quilted it with my machine and table. The table is against the wall. That helps a lot. A queen size quilt. Okay. What do you mean, Denise, that your sit-down machine likes it tighter than the YouTube videos illustrate? Oh, great. I'm glad you like the ideas of the bungees, Sherry. I get them at my Home Depot, a home center. You can get the bungees and the clamps all at Home Depot or Lowe's. Any home center, any hardware store is going to have good bungee cords. Do you want me to show you the ones that I have? I can go get them. If you want me to show you that, let me know. What's freezing? Is my internet freezing? Okay, the quadrant. Yes, the quadrant idea, you have to think it through, because depending upon what your quilting design is, the quadrant idea might require that you stabilize your quilt. What I like to do when I stabilize quilts on a home machine, if I can do, let's see, if this is my quilt and I want it to go through the machine, doing vertical lines through the machine is easier than doing horizontal, because you're just pushing it away from you or toward you, which is easier. That's the same repetitive motion to stabilize the quilt. Then I can freely turn the quilt in whatever direction I want. That's another important thing to consider. Mm-hmm. Lorraine makes a good point. I thought about this too, that the lighting can also influence those lines. You might look at whether your machine lighting that you have on your machine or the lighting in your room, if you use a spotlight, a table spotlight on your sewing machine, is it casting shadows? Good point, Lorraine. Okay, Lois uses large binder clips. All right, I use a quick release clamps. Let me go get those clamps so you can see it. I'll be right back. All right, here I am. Okay, here's my bungee cord. It's heavy duty. It's not your traditional bungee cord. It has some flexibility, but not a lot. It just depends on how much flexibility you want. But I wanted this one because it has the S hooks on it already. Okay. And then here's my clamp. I just lightly close it, and then on the inside, I don't know if you can see that, on the inside, I just press a button, a lever, not a button, but a lever. This lever opens it. Gentle close, and then that opens it. This part is flexible. This moves. And then I have this S hook that I use to attach the bungee. Okay. So this clamp was really easy to use. It doesn't require strength at all. No strength required. I hope that's helpful. It's called a Quick Grip by Irvin. If you want to know which one this is, I can find the link and put it in the description. Okay. Yeah, these are great clamps. Let me see if I can find them really quick here. How are we doing on time? Can't believe it's almost an hour already. What questions? Did someone have a question about tension? Oh, bobbin tension. On my sit-down home machine, I do not adjust my bobbin tension. I only adjust it in extreme circumstances. You really want to learn how to adjust your top tension on your sit-down machine. use the top tension first. If you still have challenges, and you can go down to 1 on your tension, your top tension. You can go low, really low. But if you still have a problem, even if you're on 1, your machine might need to be serviced, or some manufacturers like to sell you a second bobbin case where you adjust that tension. But that is really rare. On long arm machines, sit down and stand up, you want to be able to adjust both your top and bottom tension. For the bobbin tension, for my sit down machine, my long arm, I like and use this toa gauge. I use a toa gauge to adjust my bobbin tension for my long arm. I do this with every single bobbin. I check my bobbin tension for my sit down machine. So I'm checking the tension for both top and bottom on a long arm machine. Clamp. I have not used pool noodles for basting a quilt. There's so many fantastic methods for basting our quilt. I suggest that you try it. If you want to use pool noodles and use that and it works and you love it, fantastic. I have changed the way I base quilts from the time I've begun till now. It's all been a learning experience. And I think we should all try different methods. Try one and see what works for you. I don't know that I'm going to do a session on long arms, but if you're looking to get a long arm, it all depends on whether or not you want to sit down or stand up. I love my sit down. There was 2 reasons why I did not get a stand up, maybe 3. One, most of my experience with free motion quilting has been sit down, moving the fabric. So it was going to be an easy transition. Second, I don't have the space for a frame. No space in my house to put a large frame. And then the third reason, so there is 3 reasons. I had spinal surgery when I was a kid, and I have a metal rod in my back, and I knew that over time I would not be able to stand in front of a machine. Truth be told, I'm getting old, ladies. And I said I want to be able to quilt well into my 90s like Lois. Yes, and I have to do that sitting. I can't do it standing. So that's why I end up getting a sit-down machine. It's perfect. Okay, I found they call quick release clamps. And of course, I got mine years ago. They may be different now, ladies. I don't know if it's going to be the same, but it looks like it from the picture, it looks exactly the same. I'm looking at Home Depot's website now, and the pair is about $24. Quick release clamps. So just go online, go to their website, and you can find a clamp that works. Oh, you're welcome. What kind of long arm are you looking for? A frame or a sit down? I hope you're still with us, Denise. I'm sorry that your internet is freezing. All right. Any other questions? We are at almost an hour. We've talked about a lot of different things, but I don't know that I've answered all your questions. We might have to have another Q&A. We talked a little bit about basting, about tension, about having a consistent method for machine setup, making sure your machine is clean, Servicing your machine, oiling it, that's important. Learning about tension. And I know we've talked about this. If you need more help with tension, go to superiorthreads.com. They have amazing educational section on thread and tension. Let's see. Another Q&A would be great. Good. You like the Q&A. Awesome. So maybe we can do this again next week. I kind of surprised you, so maybe you weren't prepared with questions. Okay, Marlene, you're also looking for one for sit down. I love my Juki. Juki, if you don't know much about Juki machines, primarily their main business has been in machines for manufacturing. Companies that make furniture, airplane seat coverings, all kinds of things related to manufacturing seats and leather and all kinds of manufacturing type. And now, if you think about it, a company is not going to invest in a sewing machine that breaks all the time. It has to be heavy duty because it's running, maybe 16, 20 hours a day, day after day after day. So Juki is one of the biggest manufacturers of sewing machines for companies that make these products. That need machines that run well and for hours. So that same quality is put into their domestic sewing machines. So I've had my Juki, I don't know, 8 years or so, maybe longer. Oh, yay, Denise, you're still here. Good. So, but like anything else, you got to go and test it out. Go to a quilt show, a quilt shop, and sit down and try all the sit-down machines and see which ones you like. No frills is sometimes the best thing. Keep it simple. Too many bells and whistles, you may become a problem, maybe too much to handle. So this is a simple machine. I know that when I sit in front of it, it's going to sew. I don't have to oil any part of the machine itself except the bobbin area. The machine is encased. It has bearings in it with encased oil. So it's always there. It doesn't have to be oiled. Only the bobbin case. Just clean out the bobbin case and oil it, and that's it. So anyway, I love my Juki. And this is not sponsored. I was a Juki educator several years ago, and I learned a lot about Juki and how it relates to other machines in the industry. But I am no longer an educator, and I still love Juki machines. All right. Let's see. What else? Okay, so Denise says, by the way, my friend and I are going to organize a group project to make fidget quilts. Oh, that's wonderful, Denise. I'm so excited. That's fantastic. What a great, wonderful project to do for people in our community, for people we love, people we live with. It's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that. You're going to have to, once you get started, take photos, share them with us. I'd be happy to share them here on the live and talk about your group and the progress you're making and how you're contributing to your community. I'd love to learn more. I'm sure the rest of you ladies would too, right? Wouldn't you love to see what she's up to? Okay, so we're about to sign off, and I just want to remind you that we now have quilt pattern bundles by Living Water Quilter. If that's something you're interested in, just go in the YouTube box below to get that pattern bundle, which includes some videos that will help you be inspired on how to quilt it once you're done. And those of you who are in Stitching Lane Society membership, reminder, we meet on Monday and we meet at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of noon. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You will get a reminder on Sunday and you'll get a reminder on Monday, 1 hour before via email. But mark it in your calendar, put an alarm on your clock if you need to, and bring something to show and share on Monday during our meeting, our Zoom meeting. We also, you have access to 50% off the first Living Water Quilter quilt pattern bundle, 50% off. And that is going to be on the membership dashboard. You're going to find the link there. That's the only place that link lives. Do not go to the quilt pattern bundle on the website. You must sign in, go to the member dashboard to get the exclusive link for that pattern discount. Yes, I'm looking forward to it as well. You are welcome, Marlene, for the information. Awesome. Thank you, Copper. Copper is our official moderator. Thank you, Copper, for being in the chat and encouraging everyone. You are special indeed, and I appreciate you. I want you to know that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You always make everyone feel welcome, and you remind them to hit the like button and to subscribe if you're not a subscriber. So if you're joining us in the replay, thank you for watching. And if you have a question, please write it in a comment. I will watch the comments and will respond to you if you have a question about ruler quilting or machine quilting. If you want information about how to join Quilt Conversations live community and club, go to join.livingwaterquilter.live. That's where you can become an official member of quiltconversations.live. And you can do that by supporting this live session either on a monthly basis or one time. Go to that link and you can participate by buying me a cup of coffee. That's right, ladies, you can do that. Remember, I tried that a couple of months back? Well, I finally got my act together and I put that together, and you can go there. I can give you that link now in the chat if you are not available to go into the description box. I'll put that in. And I will do that on Facebook too. All right. All right, ladies, thank you for joining me for another Quilt Conversations Live. And next week, we're going to do another Q&A. Have your questions ready. I know I was kind of back and forth on this, trying to figure out how to do it, what the right format was. And so I think doing it this way was the better format. Let me know what you think. Remember, I'm still learning, and I'm so glad I took that live training this past week, and I'm implementing some new things, so it's going to be a little rough. Hey, hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. Hi. We're just finishing up. We had a Q&A, and we're going to have Q&A next week, questions and answers. And I hope you ladies get a chance to sew this week. We all were able to sew last week. If not, dream about sewing. And I thank you for being here. Have a good, safe, and wonderful weekend. All right, ladies. Thank you, Copper, Denise, Lois, Wilda, Sheila, Marcia, Marlene, Sherry, Rosemary, Cassie. It's always good to be with you here each Friday. I'll see you next week. And for those in Stitching Lane Society, I'll see you on Monday. Bye now.